Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei. Today we have a new PC. Look, 2000 FPS. It's insane. Actually, well, it's 1200, but even then, that's like 10 times what it was before. Anyways, today, hold on, Windows 11 moment. Today we will be talking about the second part of this video, which got a lot more attention than I had anticipated. And I'm gonna talk about some stuff because I think a lot of people maybe either saw this channel for the first time or maybe were just like not in the know. And now I'm gonna be responding to your comments, kind of, a little bit. We'll get into it a little bit. So there's plenty of comments on this video. Many of them. Okay, but a lot of them can be summed up like this. First, a little thing I should do, and then some simplified comments that can be addressed. For anyone who's not aware, by the way, this video talked about how in Block Wars there are a lot of very good players, and with Block Wars trending lower comp, not all of the good players can be fit in. And I wanted to just talk about it because it's something that I bring up a decent amount, and it's something that is also brought up by the audience a decent amount as well. So I wanted to make a video about it because I hadn't talked about it really in a little bit. But yeah, either way, one thing is you got baited so hard. Okay, I saw so many comments saying like, why is Wolfeei in S tier? Why is Pangy in S tier? Like, it's too easy. It's too easy. You really think I don't know that they're not S tier? You got baited. It's that simple. Either way, let's get into the video. So first, the video talked about like the issue with the abundance of higher skill players, etc. And one of the questions, or one of the main things that I think was misunderstood or not understood is why Block Wars even is lower comp, or why this even is an issue. The reason Block Wars is lower comp is because the event, Block Wars, is trying something different, right? Most events are just a Minecraft event with just Minecraft players playing Minecraft minigames. Block Wars wanted to give it a little bit of a spin and try something unique. I think MCC also does that a decent amount, but aside from MCC, you don't really see other events trying something unique. And Block Wars, with the people involved, etc., has the opportunity to do this. It has the opportunity to introduce some variety players, people that aren't primarily Minecraft streamers, into the scene and expand and possibly even grow the scene, right? It makes it more interesting. It diversifies the people that are involved, which is good. It's cool. The reason low comp fits alongside the want for variety, which is just trying to make the events unique, different, stand out, which has been a very successful approach. The reason it becomes low comp is because with people who don't play Minecraft as much also comes inexperience, right? They're just not as good as the game or at the game as Minecrafters. So that's why overall the event needs to be a little bit more noob friendly, you could say, to make it a lot more fitting for these people to play. Of course, that comes with a lot of difficulties and some decision making that definitely isn't, following the standard of Minecraft events, but that is what we're doing for Block Wars. It's a challenge we're willing to take on because I think the result is really interesting. So that's why Block Wars is lower comp, right? We're trying to make something unique. It's trying to be different. So let's address the generalized comments very, very briefly. Some comments said something along the lines of, just change the S tier requirements. I complained about S tiers, or more so mentioned how there's so many of them. Why don't you just change the requirement of S tier? Well, the thing is it doesn't really matter what the definition or requirement of S tier is. I could say that only the 5 best players in the event can be S tier and anyone else is like A plus or A tier. It doesn't really matter because it doesn't make the other players that now aren't S tier not good at the game. They're still very good players. It doesn't just, the premise of the video isn't just about the S tier, but they're the most talked about group of people, which is why it was addressed like that. So it's not about what S tier means. That's not really important. Sure, I can agree that, of course, the top of S tier and the bottom of S tier aren't equal, but that applies in C tier and F tier too. The worst F tier player isn't the same as the best F tier player, of course, right? There's nuance, there's difference. So that's one, right? Next, there were some suggestions saying, just make it all S tiers. Why, if the S tiers are such a problem, why don't you just make the teams entirely S tiers? I assume half of that is a joke. Of course, we wouldn't do that because that wouldn't make it unique anymore. Of course, with blockwars being a very popular event, we would probably be able to make some very interesting full S tier or very high comp teams. I think Blockwars Brawl is a decent display of that as well, of course. But that isn't the goal of the event. We're not trying to become a highly competitive event. And I understand that, of course, a lot of the audience on YouTube, especially in the modern age of YouTube, and Minecraft YouTube specifically, is more interested in the higher comp part of Minecraft, because that's just how the full scene really developed. The content went from like, haha, silly SMP, mostly, to I did the most difficult, the most insane, the most impressive, the most whatever, like skill-based thing in Minecraft. That's just what content trended towards, so that means the average skill level of the popular creator went up by a very, very big step. So that's just what the majority of viewers enjoy, right? That's what the majority of the newer viewers, at least, are interested in, is the more highly skilled players. So I totally understand if the like modern approach of blockwars doesn't appeal to you. That's okay. That's totally fine. As long as we can both agree that we, as blockwars, are entitled to our own approach, and you are entitled to your own opinion, and that's okay. That's great. They don't have to align. Perfect. All right, next. Just add more players per team. This is the most doable thing, but it doesn't really solve anything, because just adding more players per team doesn't make it more like low comp friendly. If that extra slot is now an S tier, it just means the average skill of an event goes up even further, most likely at least. Plus, the entire event is designed around having teams of 5. Making that like teams of 6 would make it a lot of work to make things make sense, right? Blockwars Chaos is able to pull it off because it's Chaos. It doesn't really matter if like things are a little bit scuffed. You don't want the base Blockwars experience with teams of 6 to be like that weird. Although I do think teams of 6 is an interesting thing to try for like a random event, because of course it's a familiar format with events like, or games like Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, etc. Games like that, right? Hero shooters, I think is what you would call them. Teams of 6 are pretty common in that, so it's a familiar type of combination, possibly. Though I would also say that 6 is like the very max of like a normal amount of teammates in terms of like past 6, even 6 I think is too many. I think 5 can sometimes already be a little bit overwhelming. 6 might be too many. But maybe we can try that one time. But still, by default, that is an unrealistic expectation. Next, add more teams. So I already explained how adding more players per team is kind of difficult in the base foundation, of course, because a lot of the event is built around having teams of 5 players. All of the event is based around having 8 teams or less. Adding more teams is not doable unless you want to remake the entire event, pretty much. It's the same reason why MCC can't do 12 teams, like some people have suggested in the past, right? Because it's just a lot of work, and it doesn't feel like it's that necessary. Of course, sure, it would solve the issue, partially, of having too many players that sign up. Of course, if you add 2 extra teams, because usually people say, oh, just make it 10 teams of 5. That would be cool. It would be cool, but it's a lot of work, and it's maybe not worth it. But yeah, of course, like 2 S tiers maybe could play more, or like 4 good players maybe could play more. Doesn't solve the issue, but it helps to an extent, sure. It also means we have to get 6 lower skill players or other players involved as well, which is where, on a regular basis, the challenge really starts to become very obvious. Like, that isn't very easy to do. Not because I don't think people don't want to play, but because of scheduling, right? People that aren't attached to Minecraft are just less likely to have an open schedule for Minecraft. It just isn't as common of a thing. Also, we've seen this in the past. A lot of people end up subbing out because they end up having like tournaments for money, and that's totally understandable. They're gonna not want to play in the free Minecraft event instead of the few $1,000 like Overwatch thing. I don't know, something like that, right? Either way. Next, host more events. I don't know if you noticed, but like we hosted like 15 of them this year. I don't think we should add more. I really don't think that's a great idea. There was a lot of block wars this year to the point where people said, please stop hosting events. And then we went on break and they were like, wait, no, come back. But still, right, like we host a lot of block wars already. I don't think it's a great idea for us to add more events to the schedule. As much as, of course, if you make it, for example, I guess we'll just go on to the next one. Make another event like Origins, but for sweats. If you were to add a third Block Wars base rendition that is just the sweaty one, sure, that would be different and it would contrast to the main event, and maybe that would be fine because you would have a different audience watching it. But it doesn't, like, that's not a flawless solution at all. The devs already have a good amount of stuff to do. Keep in mind, they are part-time and voluntary, quote-unquote. They're not even employees, they're just helpers, I guess, right, technically. Team members is the best way to put it. They have other stuff to do. It's not like they are, you know, magically available to work on Block Wars a lot and very quickly. Like, they do take their own time, and they are very much entitled to taking their time because they're doing it for free, right? They're doing it out of the kindness of their heart and passion. So, yeah, just want to say, like, another set of hosted events is a lot. Might not be a very good idea for us to do that. Also, Origins isn't meant to be like a sweaty event. It's meant to be like the event for like some of the community side of the event scene, right? From Origins and beyond, etc. Or from old Block Wars and beyond, I should say. It's just high comp because a lot of those players are very good. If that wasn't the foundation of the player base, if like every person was a noob, it's not like Origins would push to be high comp. They're just doing it for fun. They're just making a community event. It's just a nice side effect for the high comp enjoyers that Origins is relatively sweaty compared to other Minecraft events, usually at least, or at least very highly competitive in terms of skill. So yeah, adding another event, not doable. And that's pretty much the sum of the comments. Pretty interesting, huh? Anyways, guys, 1500 FPS. It's pretty incredible, huh? Will be interesting to see how long this holds up and how this this FPS number will translate to streaming and stuff. Either way, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned something. If you weren't aware too much about what Blockwars is about, maybe you'll have learned something new. And otherwise, I appreciate everyone for sharing their thoughts and also for getting a video to a lot of views. I like that too. So anyways, thank you for watching. See you later. Goodbye.